Hello, everyone. This is TTOR. I will be hosting a live show on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to join the show, bring a working microphone and either a webcam or an avatar. The link to the room will be in the live chat of the streaming locations that the live stream will be streaming to. God bless. Hello there, everyone. If you're watching this video, then you are part of the TTOR army, an army that is building itself up one subscriber at a time. Now, before we get into the subject matter of today's video, I'd like to bring something very important to your attention. YouTube censorship has been going on for almost a decade now, and because of that, YouTube alternatives, such as all the ones that have sprung up over the last 7 years, are more important than ever. But there are two YouTube alternatives that I am on that if you are a fan of TTOR content, you should definitely subscribe to me on and follow me on instead of YouTube. The first one, which you can see on screen, is none other than Rumble. Rumble, of course, is Evil Orange Man's YouTube alternative because it is literally a YouTube alternative that is owned by the media company that Donald Trump runs. It's a very popular site in terms of how many people are using it. Not as big as YouTube at this point, but there are millions upon millions of registered users, hundreds of millions of site visitors every month coming in, and it's still growing, and my channel on Rumble is growing. As a matter of fact, over the last roughly 8 months, I've gone from 20 or less subs to about 88 at the time of this recording, and hopefully I'll reach 100 subs on Rumble very soon. I also stream live episodes of GodTVRadio and the TTOR show to my Rumble channel. So if you like my content and you want to watch my videos on a YouTube alternative that is less censorious and allows more speech than YouTube does, while simultaneously reaching a lot of people, I would encourage you to subscribe to my Rumble channel, check out my videos here, share them around, and be sure to tune in every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for a live stream, whether it be GodTVRadio or the TTOR show. The other YouTube alternative you really need to be aware of is none other than my own, Quarter. Quarter is an open source alt tech alternative to YouTube that I started in May of 2022, and we are very similar to YouTube in terms of features and functionality, even having some features and functionality that YouTube doesn't have, and we allow real free speech here on Quarter. Freedom of speech that not even Rumble allows. So if you're looking for a true free speech site that champions freedom of speech and is functionally similar to YouTube and is ran by someone who is a content creator like yourself who believes in freedom of speech, I would encourage you to join Quarter today and start spreading the word about Quarter today. And now that you know about my Rumble and Quarter channels, let's talk about the subject of today's video, which is my recent GodTVRadio podcast titled Satanist Lucifer LeGivorden talks with Brett Keane and TTOR GodTVRadio. So in this show, we had the Satanist priest Lucifer LeGivorden talk with us about Satanism, his problems with the Church of Satan, and he also gave his personal testimony about how he got to be who he was today. It was a very interesting, eye-opening experience because I learned some things about Satanism that I didn't know before. And don't worry, it's nothing that would cause me to leave the biblical worldview behind and embrace Satanism. But I learned stuff I didn't know before. And so it's always good to know stuff about things you didn't know before, just so you can deal with it in the appropriate manner. Now, Mr. LeGivorden, in particular, had a part of the show where he gave his testimony about how he came to be a Satanist priest like he is today. Basically, what happened is when he was an 8-year-old boy, something happened. I don't remember what it was because I'm not watching the video right now. He died, but he had an out of body experience when he died. And so basically, he kind of just got stuck in place and he watched his body and the people in his life who were in the car driving him to the hospital. He watched them drive off while he was out of his body, and then a tunnel with this dark light kind of showed up, and he went through the tunnel. And after he went through the tunnel, he arrived in this dimension where there were all these spirits that he called gods. And he said that even though he didn't know how he knew that they were the gods of various religions that he had heard of. And all these supposed gods basically grabbed him and they took him to like a chasm or a pit and told him to look down into it. And when he looked down into the pit, he saw Yahweh, the God of the biblical worldview. And he said that all he could feel emanating from Yahweh was hate. And then one of the spirits that led him to the chasm/pit turned to him and said, "You need to go back, your work is not done," or something to that effect. And then he was returned to his body, where he woke up on the operating table in a hospital, and eventually he went on to live the life he did, where by the time he was 12 years old, he had rejected the biblical worldview and started exploring other religions, and he'd spent, I think, years doing that before he eventually became a Satanist. And that led into all the adventures he's had with Satanism and exposing the lying grifters who basically control various parts of the Satanism movement. Now, speaking as a Bible-believing Christian who embraces the existence of spirits, not just angels and God, obviously, but also of demons and Satan. Obviously, I believe that those are real beings that really exist, and they're not just fictitious constructs of science fiction. And because I know the Bible, and because I believe those things and beings exist, when I look at his testimony, I can only come to one conclusion. And that conclusion is that when he was 8 years old, having this out-of-body experience, the gods he encountered were actually evil spirits/demons posing as gods because that's something they are fully capable of doing. It's just really convenient, and I don't know how he didn't see this at any point after the experience. LeGivorden, doesn't it seem kind of odd and convenient that when you had this out-of-body experience that you just happened to meet these spirits posing as gods from other religions and you just felt nothing but love and kindness and benevolence coming from them, and then they just happened to lead you to a pit where you can see Yahweh and all you can feel coming from Yahweh is hate? Don't you think that's really convenient? You see, LeGivorden, I actually do have personal experience encountering evil spirits/demons. And no, it's not because I had them in me, it's because I saw them manifested in other people. In fact, back in January of 2021, I put out this video on my BitChute channel titled, "I Just Encountered a Demon in Real Life for the First Time," where I documented this experience. I'll have the link to this video in the description box below so you can watch it for yourself. But basically, in a nutshell, I was hanging out with an ex at the time and my ex's daughter. And the daughter basically was just watching Disney movies with us, doing our normal thing. Nothing was out of the ordinary. And then all of a sudden, she got possessed by an evil spirit, which took her outside the house. And because the house we were in was next to the main road in Springfield, Oregon, which is basically a highway, and you have lots of traffic going each direction, This evil spirit tried multiple times to throw this girl out into traffic where she could have been severely injured and or died. And basically I had to play goalie, and I had to keep her and the spirit on the sidewalk and off the streets. And what happened is the mother came out with me, and we started rebuking this evil spirit, and we demanded to know where it came from. Of course, the mother did a lot of the talking. I was mostly doing the eyeballing of the spirit, controlling the girl to make sure that it didn't throw her out into the street. And what this evil spirit revealed is that it had come into this girl when she was 4 years old and in the process of being abused in all kinds of ways, both mentally and emotionally and physically, by someone in her family in the past. Basically, it had taken advantage of her and entered into her body when she was just 4 years old and had been inside of her all these years. And this demon claimed that it loved her and cared about her more than any of us, and that it was only trying to do what was best for her, and yet at the same time it was trying to throw her out into traffic where she could have been severely injured and or died. So I know firsthand how spirits work. I know firsthand how evil spirits that are on the side of Satan work. They are lying sacks of crap that will tell you anything you want to hear and claim that they care and love about you, but in reality they are working towards your destruction. Whether that just be spiritually or physically or both. That's what evil spirits are really like, LeGivorden. And so when I hear your testimony as you described it, I instantly recognized that you were being approached by evil spirits in this out-of-body experience. Now, how do I know that they were evil spirits? Well, it's not just based on the story I just told, but as I told you in the live stream, LeGivorden, is that a couple of years ago at my current church, a guy came to our church who also had an out-of-body experience where he had been dead for like an hour, and while he was dead, he was taken up to heaven, and he talked with Jesus, and he met a whole bunch of people who had previously walked the earth, and some of them were past family members of his, and he didn't recognize them nearly because instead of being in their old decrepit bodies, they were in, their resurrection bodies, as the Bible talks about. And when this guy, Dean Braxton, I think his name was talking with Jesus and having this experience in heaven, he encountered God directly, Jesus directly, because Jesus is the visible image of the invisible God, according to the scriptures. And all Dean Braxton could feel in this place was love and peace. There was no hate. There was no negativity of any kind. And so what I tried to ask LeGivorden in the podcast was, well, why did you and Dean Braxton have completely opposite experiences with God, even though you both had out-of-body experiences where you were dead for a period of time, and then you both met God? How come when he met God, he felt nothing but love and peace and no hate at all, but you, when you allegedly were shown Yahweh by these evil spirits, all you felt coming out of Yahweh was hate? Why did that happen? And the answer that LeGivorden gave for why that happened is, he said, well, you see, the difference is I was 8 years old when I had my experience, and he was an adult when he had his, and therefore, because he was an adult, he was more set in his ways. The implication of this, of course, is that because he was an adult who was set in his ways, he was incapable of perceiving God as he really is. But because LeGivorden was an 8-year-old child experiencing what he experienced with his out-of-body experience while dead, well, he saw God as he really is, and God as he really is nothing but hate. Of course, LeGivorden, there's a really big problem with your theory. The fact of the matter is that children who are 8 years old and under, such as you were when you had this experience, children of that age do not have fully developed cognitive abilities, which means they don't have the ability to challenge or critically analyze what they're being told or what they're experiencing to see whether or not what they have been told or what they are experiencing is really the truth. And because of this, they are susceptible to being indoctrinated into all kinds of lies. Or in your case, having a seed of hatred towards God planted by evil spirits deep inside of you. And in case you don't know this, LeGivorden, the undeveloped cognitive abilities of children is a reason that many atheists give for why Christians and creationists like myself should not be allowed to teach our children the ways of the Lord in the biblical worldview. And it's also the reason that atheists and evolutionists give to why they should be teaching those same children about evolution in billions of years in academia and in schools. And in case you don't believe me, let's look at the evidence. I have here a blog post from 2012 by an atheist blogger named Miss Joy FG called "Stop Inviting My Kid to Church, Religion is Not for Children." And it is in the following 2 paragraphs where she wrote the following. "This part will be touchy for people who do not believe the same as we do, and I respect that. I'll raise my kids and you can raise yours. I do not think religion is for children. I think that they should be exposed to the beliefs of all people, and while I will tell my children this is what mommy and daddy believe, I do not expect her to believe the same thing. I'll ask Miss N what she thinks, and she has some really amazing thoughts on the matter, but I will not tell her she is wrong if she disagrees with me about the big beliefs. I do not tell her she is going to hell if she does not believe as I do, that she ought to live in fear for the people in her life who do not, because it is unfair to expect a child to live like that. It is not right to speak in absolutes with children because they will believe anything and everything you tell them, and they are still developing the cognitive ability to sift through the logic of some claims. Case in point, boy honestly thinks Batman is a viable career choice. After Miss N encouraged him to come up with a backup plan, he settled on police officer/Batman. So according to Miss Joy FG, it is not right to speak to children in absolutes. It's not right to teach them the biblical worldview because they don't have the cognitive ability to sift through the logic of your claims. So obviously there are many atheists and non-believers who agree with her on this point. But when we go to this archived 2016 article from The Guardian titled "Evolution Makes Scientific Sense, so Why Do Many People Reject It?" what you learn is that what Miss Joy FG cited as the reason for why we shouldn't teach children about Christianity and the biblical worldview is the reason we should teach them about evolution in billions of years. At the end of the article, we read the following. Evolution is typically taught to students at around 14 to 15 years of age as they prepare for their GCSEs. After persistent lobbying by the British Humanist Association, evolution was included in the British National Primary Curriculum for the first time last year. From September 2015, students will be taught about evolution from year 6 at around 10 to 11 years of age. Might this still be too late? Kellerman chose 5 to 8-year-olds to test because at this age, promiscuous teleology and psychological essentialism are still separate and fragmentary. She argues that by 10 years of age, they have coalesced into a coherent theoretical framework that then gets in the way of contradictory scientific explanations and may remain the gut reaction even in adults. Her storybook works because it provides children with an alternative explanatory framework before these cognitive biases become entrenched. Her findings show that even very young children can understand the basic mechanisms of natural selection and can generalize that analogy to new examples. If part of the reason that intelligent design is so popular is because it seems intuitively correct, might the solution be to disrupt those intuitions early on? Should we consider the national curriculum yet again and start teaching evolution even earlier? So, as you can see in this article, and if you read the article for yourself, you'll see the context supports what I'm about to say. This article says that we should be teaching evolution and billions of years to 5 to 8-year-olds because at that age they don't have the cognitive abilities fully developed, which means they're not able to critically analyze or think about what you're telling them, and therefore have an ability to reject what you're saying if they don't believe you're telling them the truth. And if the atheists and evolutionists could figure this out, don't you think that evil spirits, LeGivorden, could do the same thing? Don't you think, LeGivorden, that evil spirits would target you when you're 8 years old and you just died and had an out-of-body experience? Don't you think they would target you to say, oh, yeah, you see, we're just the gods of other religion, and we're totally benevolent and care about you and want the best for you, but that evil Yahweh guy over there, the God of the Bible, he's nothing but hate, and you should reject him. They targeted you at that age to plant that seed in you, LeGivorden, because at the age of 8, you did not have the cognitive abilities to challenge your experience. You did not have the cognitive ability at that time to challenge what these evil spirits were putting inside you as far as that seed of doubt towards God. And because they did it at such an early age in your life, that seed took root and festered, and it led you down the path that it did. They chose to put that idea in your head when you were having your out-of-body experience at the age of 8. They chose to put that seed in you, that seed of, oh, God is hate, at that age, because they knew your mind wasn't fully developed yet. Your cognitive abilities weren't fully developed yet. And folks, at this point, I don't want you to mistake my impassioned tone of voice and energy for any kind of hatred or negativity towards LeGivorden. Having talked to LeGivorden for a couple hours, he was a decent guy. He was civil. He wasn't rude. You know, we have common ground as far as some of our political views go, so it's not like the guy and I disagree about everything. We have things in common, and he was certainly a lot more pleasant to talk to than a lot of these atheist, evolutionist YouTubers and some of these Satanists that have been going after Brett Keane on X recently. So, not a bad guy. But I gotta be honest about what I see when I hear your testimony about your out-of-body experience when you were 8 years old. It is obvious, painfully obvious to a Bible-believing Christian like me, that these evil spirits targeted you at that age to give you that vision because they knew you didn't have the fully developed cognitive abilities that would allow you after the fact to critically examine your experience and go, wait a minute, this seems like something evil spirits would do. I believe they targeted you for that reason. I really do. And I don't hate you because of that. As a matter of fact, I feel bad for you that you were targeted by evil spirits like that. And I'm really angry at those evil spirits, just like I was when I was angry at the evil spirit that was possessing or oppressing, I guess would be the more accurate term, the daughter of my ex a couple of years back. I get mad at evil spirits because they are lying sacks of crap that seek to destroy you in every way that matters, and sometimes even destroy you physically. I'm angry at those far more than I'm mad at LeGivorden.